What's up, guys? We are back with another Commander deck tech. This time we're doing the Locust God, probably one of my favorite commanders in these colors, in the Izzet colors. Um, and here it is. A legendary creature, God, flying. When you draw a card, create a 1/1 blue and red insect creature. Token when flying in haste. You can pay 2 blue and a red, draw a card, discard a card, and when Locust God dies, return it to the owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. So you almost never have to play commander attacks with this because unless it gets exiled, then it goes back to the command zone. You have to pay commander attacks. Outside of that, though, board wipes and stuff that just destroy all creatures, it goes back to your hand. You can recast it for 6. No big deal. But this is definitely a fun deck. Lots of instants and sorceries, lots of draw card effects, like creatures that get effects go off when you draw a card, that type of stuff. So let's jump into the creatures of this deck. Yeah, I'll just leave the Locust God over here so you guys can still see him. First, we got Calfee, Beloved of the Sea. Enchantments and creatures you control have spells your opponents cast target them. Wow. Spells your opponents cast to target this permanent cost 1 more to cast. So it's a little bit of protection for your creatures. We have a Stormkiln artist because we are casting a lot of instants and sorceries. And whenever we cast an instance of sorcery, he has Magecraft, so we get a treasure token. And, you know, more mana to cast more spells is always good. We got Apprentice Wizard, pay a blue, it adds 3 colorless, which helps us get to our Locust God early. Kaza Royal Chaser, flying haste, tap, and the next instant or sorcery spell you cast this turn cost X less, where X is the number of wizards you control. There's a handful of wizards in here, so sometimes this will really only make you get 1 cheaper, but there are a handful of wizards, like I said, so you might get a few more, maybe like 2 or 3 off your first instant or sorcery, which ain't bad. Like your Apprentice Wizard, and I believe Stormkill is a Shaman. Yeah, so your Apprentice Wizard and this, and I believe there's 1 more wizard or 2 more wizards in the deck. Okay, Agar the Freezing Flame. When a creature or planeswalker an opponent controls is dealt excess damage, if a giant, wizard, or spell you control dealt that damage this turn, draw a card. So another draw effect. Like I said, there's a handful of wizards in here. There's 2 or 3 giants, and we have 1 or 2 other cards that deal some damage. So, Calamity Bearer, if a giant source you control would deal damage to a permanent or a player, it deals double that damage to that permanent or player instead. So these 2 together help you get that excess damage in with your, so excess damage. Archetype of aggression. Creatures you control have trample. Creatures your opponents control lose trample and can't have trample. So a way to get your flyers trample in the event that your opponent has some flying blockers and big blockers. Talran, Sky Summoner. Whenever you cast an instant sorcery, make a 2/2 Drake. We're running a substantial amount of instants and sorceries in this deck, so there's lots and lots to trigger off of that. Crackling Drake, power is equal to the number of instants and sorceries you control in your graveyard and in exile. And then when it enters, you draw a card. So another draw card effect. Bloodwater Entity. When it enters the battlefield, you may put target instant sorcery card from the graveyard on top of your library. So lets you reuse 1 of your instant sorceries. Electrostatic Field, you deal damage whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, so to each opponent. So playing as many instants and sorceries as we are, there's a lot of ways to trigger Electrostatic Field. Sprite Dragon, same thing. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Sprite Dragon. We have a lot of non-creature spells in this deck. Naheb, Dreadhorde Champion. When it deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, you may discard any number of cards. If you do, draw that many cards and add that much mana. Till the end of the turn, you don't lose mana as phases and steps end. So that with Locust God is great because every time we would draw a card, then we create a 1/1 blue and red flying hasty boy, which is great. And then it gives us the mana to cast more stuff. So that'll be fun. Burnished Heart, because we're in red and blue, so there's not a lot of ways to get extra lands into play. Stinging Lionfish, whenever you cast your first spell during each opponent's turn, you may tap or untap target non-land permanent. Help tap and untap some stuff around. Spellbound Dragon. Mad Ratter, one of my favorite cards probably. This card's really, really underrated. When you draw your second card each turn, create 2 1/1 black rat tokens. And then the last creature in the deck is Niv-Mizzet Perun. I used to have this as a commander for this deck. Then I tweaked the deck around to turn it into Locust God instead. I feel like Locust God's a little bit more versatile in this deck as a commander. Okay, so artifacts in the deck. There's mostly mana rocks. We have Soul Ring kicking it off. Arcane Signet. Talisman of Creativity. Mind Stone. And those are your mana rocks. We got Traveler's Amulet and Spell Satchel, okay? So, Traveler's Amulet lets you get an additional land. You pay the 1 sacket, go find the land. Spell Satchel, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, or copy an instant or sorcery, put a book counter on this. You can remove a book counter, add a mana, or you can remove 3 counters and draw a card. So, another way to draw some more cards. Okay, so let's get into the instance, the bulk of this deck, okay? Thrill of Possibility. Teach by example to copy one of your instant sorceries. Blue Sun Zenith, that's kind of self-explanatory here. Steam Augur. Opt. Practical Research. Hieroglyph Illumination. Now, this card, okay, I could probably deal without this card, but I enjoy running this card. Cancel because I'm going to play counter spells. Counterflux. Syncopate. Brainstorm. Unexpected Windfall. Magma Quake as a win con because most of your important creatures are going to have flying. Anticipate. Mental Journey. Lose Focus. Probably one of my favorite counter spells in the game currently because you can replicate it for 1 blue. Seething Song. Reinterpret. Essence Backlash. Pongify. Evacuation. Expansion Explosion. Thirst for Discovery. And Saw It Coming are the instants in the deck. So a couple of counter spells, couple of draw spells, that types of thing. Sorceries in the deck. We have Solve the Equation. Probably the best sorcery in the game right now in blue. Faithless Looting. Preordain. Sleep. Mindspring. Storm's Wrath. Muse Vortex. And Ponder. Rounding up your sorceries in the deck. So like I said, guys, with Spread Dragon, like all of these are non-creature spells. Okay? So you have this many cards in your deck that are non-creature spells. Spread Dragon will get huge. It's this many instants and sorceries, so you'll have a lot of 2/2 Drakes, and so on and so forth. So wrapping up the deck, we have some enchantments. Now let's jump into these. We have Dictate of Twin Gods and Furnace of Wrath to double damage. So if you get both of these on the board, everybody's taking a lot of damage then. I actually lost a game because of these 2 cards one time because I doubled the damage and I miscounted by 1 damage and then lost on the crackback. So keep in mind when you play both of these, if you play both of these together, make sure you count your damage swinging out, okay? Math is not just for blockers. Firemind's Research, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, put a charge counter on it, and you can remove a number of charge counters for each of the 2 abilities. Improbable Alliance, Omen of the Sea, Madame's Prophecy, Fever Visions, probably one of my favorite enchantments in this color, Omen of the Sea, Ominous Seas, and Sphinx's Tutelage. Now I know what you're thinking. Sphinx's Tutelage, why would you try and mill somebody out like this, okay? I tend to play this game or this deck in one-on-one games a lot, and this card, it's just one card. I've won with the mill sometimes, so sometimes you can mill people out with this, and you never know. But guys, that is Locust God. Like always, I didn't go over the lands in the deck. I will put the link to the entire deck list down below for you guys, so you guys can check out all the lands down there as well. If there's any questions, the entire list is down there in case you want to order it, play it, and leave in the comment section any suggestions you might have for it. I know there's a handful of cards I want to get for this, like Cyclonic Rift and Leyline of Anticipation. But for right now, this is kind of the way I've been playing it. It wins. It does its thing in my play group. It's not the most competitive or high power level, but it is definitely a deck that I have a lot of fun playing, and I know you guys will too. So, I will see you guys in the next Commander Deck Tech, probably in a couple days here. I'm trying to get back into the swing of things. I just built a few new decks. I upgraded a couple of decks. So Locust God is one of the new ones I built. I have a couple of updated decks coming, or updated, whatever have you. And I have 2 or 3 other deck techs coming as well. And then I'm going to try and get some of the people from my play group to let me do their decks as well. So then we'll have a few more deck techs to show for you guys. So I'll see you guys in the next video. And yeah, see you guys later.